everybody. Very happy to be joined by Mick Rose, who writes as ML Rose. And he's going to start us off with an introduction to himself and his books.
Hello, lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Caroline and Sam and Dan and the rest of the team at UKCBC. So my name is Mick Bose. I also write as ML Rose, and I write the Arla Baker police procedural, which is based in Clapham in southwest London, a place I know very well. And just a little background about me. I started off by writing the Dan Roy series, which is a Jack Reacher type action thriller series. And that did quite well. But that was quite a few years back, about 4 or 5 years back. And then from 2018, I started to write the Arla Baker series. Was quite well received, and I just carried on with it. And that series is now in its 11th book, and the 11th book was released on the 16th of May. It's called To Die For. I wish I had a copy with me, but I don't, unfortunately. So this is a copy of the 7th book in the series called The Guilty Secret. And if anybody wants a copy, I can certainly do a signed paperback, but I've given all the signed paperbacks away, unfortunately. So, but yeah, so To Die For is live on Amazon. Well, you can get the whole series on Amazon. Hi, Samantha.
See, Sam's here. Oh, she loves my hair. You can still see where I've misdyed it, though.
It does look lively. No, looks very well done.
Yeah, if you ignore the bits where I've got red hair dye on myself, it looks fine.
I don't have much hair left, unfortunately, as you can see. It's all going, as they say, hair today, gone tomorrow.
Happens, doesn't it? Some of those things. Right, tell us about Arla Baker to get us started.
So Arla Baker came to me when I knew that, after having written, with a bloke as the protagonist, which was what the Dan Roy series was, I knew that I wanted to write with a female voice. And Arla Baker came to me at a difficult time in my life when I was quite unhappy in my personal life, let's put it that way. I wanted to make some changes. I couldn't really do so. I felt a bit stuck. And how long have I been writing under a pseudonym? I've been writing under a pseudonym since the end of 2018. So from September, October 2018. So from then on. And so for anyone who's read the books, well, obviously you have, Caroline. So I still have a friend in school that I used to call Kaz. In fact, I still, basically, every time I see her on Facebook, basically I call her Kaz. So, she's also from up north. So, I don't know if I should call you Caroline or Kaz.
I prefer Kaz, but I'm from Lincolnshire. So
you're from Lincolnshire?
I don't know if that counts as being from up north, but I prefer Kaz.
You prefer Kaz? Okay, that's fine. I'll call you Kaz then. So yeah, as you must have seen when you read the Arla Baker series, that Arla's quite a conflicted character. She came from a troubled family. She didn't really know her mother, and she lost her sister when she was 11 years old. And perhaps more than the loss of her mother, the loss of a sister when she was 11 years old, that defined her character. And that loss is really, it permeates all through, all of the books. And it's one of the reasons why she searched for a sister all through her teenage years, and she never really gave up the search. And it all comes to a boil in The Lost Sister. And that feeling of loss, of being, being conflicted, of not being able to let go of something and someone that you loved so dearly. And th- that doesn't just define Ala's character. It also was something that, basically I was feeling and I was going through at the time. And it kind of just poured out onto the page. And through Ala, basically I was actually speaking about myself as well. And I think it's one of the reasons that readers picked up on that, you know, and um, and that's why the series worked. I think the series was mainly promoted and marketed in the US to begin with, because that's where I had my first success as a self-published author. And in 2018, apart from Facebook, there wasn't really, much of a way. And I didn't discover groups such as yours until later on. Um, and so I've got a lot of American authors, a lot of American readers of the Ala Baker series. But yeah, so, and Ala, see, she kind of finds herself, once she untangles her past and she finds out more about her mother and exactly what happened to Nicole, who was the sister that she lost. Slowly, those themes of loss and belonging and finding your place in the world, these these things, they slowly take on shape, and she can, let go of the past, and she can kind of move on with her life. Has writing been therapeutic for you? Absolutely. Writing is definitely a form of therapy. I wasn't even conscious, actually, how much of myself I'd been putting into Ala, but I had. And uh, it's actually a reader who got back to me, and she said that, that something like this can happen to me. And reading your book, although it deals with a lot of difficult issues, and I think Kaz found that. Hence, she didn't give me 5 stars. She gave me 4.5.
I don't give
Um,
many books 5 stars. I wouldn't be offended. You
yeah,
got in my good rating of books. I don't give
yeah.
many books 4.5 stars either.
Hmm. I wish
So
there was 4.75. Basically, I might have got that. But anyway, so yes. So yes, absolutely. Writing, basically has been very, very therapeutic, and um,
I think what stood out for me with yours, based on that, is that although there's a lot of quite tricky subjects, and although you're saying about Ala's like trauma in her past, is it's not like they're all handled very sensitively, and there is kind of a, you know, it
progression.
yeah, there's a progression in it, and it's not sort of overly drawn out or like overly played upon in any way. You've
Mm.
handled all of those really tricky subjects quite difficultly and quite sensitively in the books, I think.
Thank you very much. And one of the reasons why, Sam's just asked that have the characters developed in a way you didn't expect. I pretty much had, well, you know, character development is something that's a bit like a plot, right? Some people can do a plot, they can do a chapter outline, and they follow it to the book. Okay, 40 chapters, about 2 to 3,000 words per chapter, 80 to 120,000 words in the book, job done. Okay, it doesn't work like that for me. Okay, I do have a beginning, a middle, and an end in mind. I do have the characters in mind. I've got my notes and my sticky pads and everything. And then what happens is when I start to write the book, it kind of evolves. And it's not the writer going after the plot. It's kind of the plot that's then pushing me. And so, to answer Sam's question, have the characters developed in a way you didn't expect? I would say that yes, although I had a broad outline in mind, the characters also start to push you because then they have their own life, you know? So, you know, it's the characters and the plot that start leading the writer instead of the writer trying to lead them, you know. And that's one thing that I absolutely love about writing, that I've created these characters. For example, Harry Meta, who's basically the tall, lanky, joking Git, who's the detective inspector and who's worked with Arla for many years and knows her very well and is her friend. And later on, that friendship becomes, basically a romance, and basically it becomes deeper over the course of 3-4 books. Um, I didn't expect that to happen. That just happened, and there's a lot of me in Harry as well. Harry's joking around. He's a bit of an idiot, basically. He just he makes jokes when people aren't really expecting them, and they're not always very appropriate. But he just has a laugh and gets on with life as well. So he's like the comic backdrop, and I didn't realize this, but then when I read some well-known detective, mystery books, I realized that there is a comic backdrop to the seriousness of of the main character, and unconsciously, uh, Harry became like that to Arla's seriousness.
You told me before when we filmed our promo that people often think that because of your pseudonym that you're a female author.
Yes, yeah. I've got 2 daughters, you see. Okay, and and their names, basically, are similar to ours. Let's put it that way. And so I'm quite tuned to, to uh, let's say, to the kind of things that women go through, and how, you know, I don't want to talk about these cliches, but it's true that, you know, life is harder for a woman. Let's put it that way. You know, uh, you know, and it is easier for a man. And I think I read an article once in a well-known newspaper that how CEOs of big companies, who uh, most of them are men, and the men who have daughters make for much better you know, employers, and CEOs. And I think that's absolutely right. I mean, so I've had that kind of insight into university women, if you like. And another thing is that I don't always make the women squeaky clean. They are complex characters as well, and I don't shy away from making, a woman the villain, you know, sometimes, and which I think my readers also like.
No, I think that's a
So
good thing. Before we answer Sam's next question, do you want to tell us about who you went to college with as well?
yeah, so David Gatward, who writes as David J. Gatward, he went to the same sixth form college as me, which is John Leggett College in Scunthorpe. I wasn't in the same year, uh, but we have sort of common friends. Like one of Dave's friends sang in the band, and I had a friend, basically in the band, and we sort of, have some common associates from back in the day, which is, just a long time ago. So
He was
yeah,
in a much higher year than you, wasn't he? Much older.
yeah. I must look much younger than him then, which I'll take that as a compliment. But no, so he's a great bloke, and his books are great, and it's great to see how well he's done.
I bet the college in Scunthorpe is like loving how many authors have come out of it.
Yeah, there's quite a few, isn't there? It's quite surprising, actually. Sonny Scunny, the last thing you'd expect from Sonny Scunny is, basically a bunch of authors. But then, I mean, you know, Yorkshire and Lincolnshire always have had that thing. They've always produced good authors, haven't they? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was Samson's question? What did you learn about character and plot from writing your debut to now that has helped with each book? I think you learn a lot from reading the works of others, and I'm not just talking about, about Agatha Christie and Sherlock Holmes, um, but new authors. And I've discovered a lot about character and plot from reading the works of people such as Frederick Forsyth. Give, for instance, Day of the Jackal, you know, and I read that book really carefully. I made notes on the chapters about the pacing of a book, that how you create suspense and how you make the reader anticipate what's going to happen next. And it might sound a bit odd for a writer to talk about a movie director, but Alfred Hitchcock is definitely one of my influences in writing suspense, basically, and mystery. Alfred Hitchcock is famous for saying that the most important thing to make a good film is a script, and a script. A great script, basically. And the way that he develops his storylines is that he always he talks about something called a MacGuffin. So a MacGuffin is something that drives, it's at the middle of the, like, say, for example, a couple is traveling on a train. They are traveling with a suitcase, and the bad guy is trying to nick the suitcase. And so the story follows the suitcase round. There's some government secrets in the suitcase, but actually the suitcase is not very important. It's the relation between the characters, and the lengths to which they will go to retrieve the suitcase, and what happens between the characters and the dangers that they encounter in trying to get the suitcase back. The actual suitcase is not very important, and that's what's called a MacGuffin. In the Arla Baker series, the suitcase was obviously dealing with, finding out about her sister and about her mother. So the MacGuffin was quite important, as well. Yeah.
So what are you working on at the moment?
So the current work at the moment is a series based in Oxfordshire. I wanted to move out of London. My girlfriend lives in Oxford, and I've learned quite a bit about the colleges and about the countryside around there. Is beautiful. As you know, it's the Cotswolds. So I've been, so it's not going to go down the Inspector Morse route. uh, so the lead character is female, for starters, and she works for the Thames Valley Police. Her name is Nikki Roy, and there will be similarities with what the with what the Arla Baker series was like, sort of, secrets of the past coming out now, and people trying to suppress them, and basically all the rest of it.
What will that? So the first book in the Arla Baker series is quite dark, isn't it? There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Is the Nikki Roy series going to be as dark, or?
That's a good question. It's because I wanted to make it much darker. Much less dark. And in order to make it less dark, I was thinking about putting in some comedy. So, and I think I tried, but it stayed reasonably dark, but not as dark as the Arla Baker series. It's not as dark as that. It's more more. It's a bit cozier than that. Let's put it this way, but without being a cozy mystery. It definitely is. A crime thriller. But there was more of a. I mean, people who read sort of a lot of my readers, they love Angela Marsons, uh, but they also like people like Anne Cleeves, you know, and and Lisa Reagan, who is a well-known American author, basically of suspense, and James Patterson, and they're not all very dark, are they? Angie is obviously, you know, Angie's books are reasonably dark, especially the way the Kim Stone series starts off. That's quite dark. So the Nikki Roy series will definitely be less dark than that. And what's her name? Um, Joe Joe Ellis. She's another reader. She's another author who's originally from Lincolnshire.
Joy Ellis, yeah, she's lovely.
Yeah, she's lovely. Yeah, and and she's also a very good writer. So yeah, so in a lot of my readers, they love her books as well. So it's going to be less dark than the Arla Baker series, that's for sure. Yeah.
You're not tempted to set a book up in like Scunthorpe or your old stomping grounds?
A book set. It's been done a few times. I mean, for example, I think was who did a series based up there. It's been done by a few authors, hasn't it? So I've kind of stayed away deliberately. But I probably will go back up to Lincolnshire. It depends on where, though. I've always wanted to base a cozy series around Cleethorpes, which is like the seaside town, a place that people love. And we used to go there after school, sometimes in the weekends. But yeah, I wanted to write a cozy mystery, sort of like basically Miss Marple kind of series based in Cleethorpes, and that might still happen one day. Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Sam, who is watching, is big Miss Marple fan.
Who's that?
Sam, who's watching, she's a big
Yeah.
Miss Marple fan. How do you find coming up with the book titles and things for your books? Because you self-publish, don't you? So it's all on you for like book titles and covers and things.
Absolutely. Book titles, sort of, play around. I've got, basically a mailing list of readers. I will often, for both the book title and the book covers, I will ask my readers, basically in my Facebook group. So I've got, a number of, the few hundred people in my private, basically readers group. I will post it to them, and I'm going to ask them that which cover is good and which cover is not, and people are going to vote. And they get very involved in it, which is great. And I do that for the titles as well.
We have some authors who've done that in our group.
Yeah.
So I think we've had, is it A.A. Abbott? She's done it a few times.
Who's that? Sorry.
I think it's A.A. Abbott has done it a few times. So she's done like her like 4 covers of her book and asked people to choose.
Yes, I do that. I didn't know that A. Abbott was a woman, actually. There you go. Learn something new every day. So
I think it's trickier when authors use initials, isn't it?
Yep.
Like I thought MJ Arledge was a woman for a really long time.
Is she not? Is it? Oh, really? Oh, MJ Arledge is also a bloke. MJ Arledge. Oh, I always thought that was a woman as well. So there you go. No wonder everyone thinks that I'm a woman.
I learn something new every day.
Yeah, I know. Why did you choose self-publishing over traditional? That's mainly because for several years, basically when I was much younger and had a lot more hair, I used to, I sent my work out to lots of traditional publishers. But then, when Kindle started, I saw my chance. And as a self publishing, I just put out a couple of books to see what happened, and they worked really well in the sense that, I had people writing back to me saying that, when's the next book coming out and stuff. And I followed, as a lot of self-published authors have done, I followed Mark Dawson's advice. I didn't do his course though, not in the beginning, and I just did my own way, and it started to work out. And then I realized that I might as well stay, in the self-published route. And as we discussed last time, Kaz, that some traditional publishing houses like Bookouture and Pira Books, they got in touch with me and they were interested in publishing the Ala Baker series. But I decided to stay my own way and do things the way that obviously I wanted to. So I wouldn't mind going with a traditional publisher for a shorter series, a series that, I didn't have to commit any more than maybe 2 or 4 books. Um, because, basically I could, write that in a few months. That's something I haven't discarded. I'll probably become something what's called a hybrid author. But for now, I'm very happy to be, 100% self-published.
It obviously works for a lot of authors, and there are some authors that do really well being self-published. Sam's got really good follow on there. What resources have you found helpful as a self-published author?
So self-publishing is different now to what it was 4 or 5 years ago. Okay. Now there's like an explosion of resources. Back when I started out, it was mainly, Mark Dawson's course, and I didn't do the course, but Mark makes a lot of advice available freely, which I really appreciated. And I just followed his free advice, actually. I didn't have to do the course in the beginning. It was, I just read up a lot online on what people had to say. I looked at some podcasts. Hello, Donna. Um, uh, and hello, Facebook user as well.
I'm going to guess what might be Leslie. I will look on my phone to see if I can see who it is.
Okay.
It was Leslie Lloyd.
Leslie Lloyd. Hello, Leslie. And I kind of, just what did I use? I used Mark Dawson stuff, which was available. People like Mel Comley had been writing already, and she had basically a website, and I got some useful stuff from there. A couple of American authors actually, J.M. Conrath. That's I think I'm pronouncing the name right. He had a huge website and podcast, and he was indefatigable actually with basically his outpouring, and I learned a lot from that as well. So yeah, it was sources like that, and then the rest was trial and error and staying in touch with different self-published authors, which obviously couldn't happen in the old days. Now, authors can stay in touch. They can, form liaisons. They can co-write as well. I've not done that, but I might co-write in the future. It's always, I've come dangerously close to co-writing, but it's not quite happened as yet.
Do you have a network of authors that you do kind of work with or share ideas with?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So I stay in touch with quite a few authors. Yeah. Do I sell books in different languages? No. But again, that's something that I've looked into. I've not done it as yet. I really want to do it actually, especially in the German language, and possibly Spanish as well. Um, Books that sell well in USA do well in the Spanish language, because obviously Spanish is like, it's the second language in America. But in Germany, there's a lot of. I actually have some German authors. I've actually got. It's very sweet. I got an email from a 14-year-old fan from Germany, who emailed me and said that, and she said that, I'm sorry, I know that I might not be your target audience, but do you think Harry and Ola could have, a bigger family, and it, etc. etc. And it's really sweet. So the answer is no, but I will probably translate into German and sell my books in the German language.
Are your books on audio?
The first 4 books are. Uh, and the lady who did the Kim Stone series for Angela Marsons, I approached her. Um, uh, Jen, her name was, and she did the first 4 books of the Ala Baker series. She will do the rest as well, and she was very good. She's a very good voiceover artist.
Because that's something a lot of self-published authors don't have, isn't it? Audio.
Yes, yeah, and I think I've kind of not done as much with the audiobooks as I would like to. The Dan Roy series also has the first 5 books of the series also has also got audiobooks, and I'm just trying to look for the post where my audiobook narrator.
Tony Millington has just said good evening. He's an author.
Hello, hello, Tony.
In our group.
Nice to meet you.
What have you got any author events planned this year? Are you going out to any festivals? Going to any author chats anywhere else?
I'm not very good with that sort of thing, I'm afraid. The 20 books has always been around, and I might well go to one of them. One of my friends, actually, Rachel McLean, she's just in Madrid, and she gave a talk which was very good. And so I will probably go to the 20 books basically one day.
I think, yeah, I mean, it's good to go out and network with people, isn't it? A lot of authors go to crime festivals and things, even if they're not doing a talk.
Like the Theakston's Peculiar Crime.
Yeah, or Capital Crime in London.
Capital Crime in London. Yeah, and there's also the Capital Crime Festival. That's also recently started, hasn't it? And their organizers got in touch last year, but I couldn't go, and I need to get back in touch with them again. And I'd like to, because I'd like to do, basically more of these festivals. So it's Jan Kramer, who was my audiobook narrator, and she's very good. She's very sought after, and I was quite lucky to snag her, actually, basically as a self-published author, because she did all of the evening to you, Facebook users. She did all of Angie's books, basically, and although basically Angie has written more than the Kim Stone series, that's what she's best known for. And I'm definitely going to go back to Jan and say that, Jan, I'm sorry, but I need you to come back and narrate the rest of the books.
Donna's right. She said the other authors and readers at panels and talks are always nervous too.
Okay. Why am I
I'm
coming across as being nervous?
No, I think it's just a thing. I'm going to do a live interview on a stage next week, and I am absolutely terrified. And my job is working with people, and I'm still not pro it. You'd think I'd be fine? Not, absolutely not.
Yeah, getting up on a stage and giving a speech, that does take some getting used to. Yeah,
Yeah, very not okay with it.
you'll be fine.
I'm sure it will be. I'm just
Yeah, I
it's
think
not
you
my
just need. I think you just need to think that you're doing one of your Facebook Live interviews, and just blank out all the people in front.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you think that, but those are all so stressful.
yeah. Especially, but yeah, but it'll be fun. And once you do one, it's like I'm sure it's like you're riding a bike. You know,
Probably. I think
yeah.
it
But with regards to going to the festivals and stuff, yes, I think I'll do it more, and I'd like to get my paperback books out into the local stores. I need to get in touch with with Waterstones. I've spoken to the Waterstones locally here in Wimbledon, and they've said that yes, we want to support local authors. So if you have books, so I'm in I'm having a chat with Waterstones to see if they will start stocking my books, and it's been positive. David Blake, another author I stay in touch with. you know uh, he's also I think Sam and Donna are having their own chat, aren't they?
they are. Donna's promising to behave, which I don't believe, and Sam's told her she can't come if she does.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
We distracted you with that. So one of my favourite author chat questions is: would you make a graphic novel version of one of your books?
Oh, that's very interesting. Would I make a graphic? I'd quite like to actually. You know, I can see, I can see Ala as being like a dark and mysterious, almost like a female Batman in some ways. But she's not going to wear a cape or have a funny mask on. But she would, be stalking down dark streets and uncovering secrets from the past. Yes, I can see her doing that actually. Yeah.
It'd work really well. Or as a TV series, it'd be great as well. Have you ever had any interest in
Yeah.
it?
So, no, it's fine. You didn't put me off at all. Don't worry. Is it much harder? Sorry, Kaz, I'll get back to your question in a minute. But is it much harder for self-published authors to get into indie bookshops and Waterstones? It is. Not all self. I think from my discussion with the Waterstones and the manager here, they want to see some evidence that the books sell and that there's a demand for the books. So books that are highly ranked, based on the Amazon store, or books that have been traditionally published in the past. That's that's the kind of books that they are looking for, or sort of trade paperbacks which have a publishing contract and a marketing agreement with Waterstones and other independent retailers. Waterstones obviously chain, but they're independent retailers as well, and there's more of them springing up. Um, I mean, I don't know of that many myself, but there are like obviously indie bookshops. It's it is harder for self-published authors mainly because we don't have an agent. Although I am at the stage now where I need to have basically a marketing manager, because I need a social media and a marketing manager, and sort of a PR person, just as it were, you know, someone who can do press releases and liaise newspapers with newspapers and radio channels to do like interviews, a bit like what we're doing now. And that sort of thing is in the pipeline. I've got, a media manager, a PR manager, and she'll probably be starting over the next few weeks, and obviously after the summer's over, you know. So yeah, so those are all in the pipeline. Sorry, Kaz, what was your question?
I've forgotten by now.
You've forgotten. You're so interested
What,
in my. Yeah.
what have
It
you
was
read?
that important.
Clearly. What have you read recently that you've really enjoyed?
No, so now the question you asked, I was quite interested in actually. I've forgotten it now. Anyway, okay. So what have I read recently that's been interesting? I like Simon McLeave's books. I think Simon's a very good author. Um, Excellent author, actually. Um, I like Dave Gatward's books, obviously. Dave's an excellent author. Um, Alex Smith as well, who combines a bit of horror as well. That's another thing, actually. I never expected horror. Horror's never been a genre that I've been interested in, especially the horror flicks like, The Exorcist or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They really put me off. I'm happy to write about a bit of blood and gore, but not excessively. And I really don't like torture scenes either. Like, some authors, they seem to manage torture scenes very well, and that's great, but I just can't do it. I don't like reading it. So I was surprised when some of my readers leave, they email me back and say that, it was perfect mixture of crime and horror. And I'm like, I didn't want to make it anything like horror. But then I realized that horror books are different to horror films. Horror books are quite suspenseful. They're quite mysterious, and a bit like Stephen King. And I didn't mind reading some of Stephen King's books. You know, so yeah, so and I've not read, basically horror books recently, but that's what some of my, that's what some of my readers, and that I think goes back to what you were saying, Kaz, about that is the next series going to be a bit less darker? Yes, I think it will be less darker.
See, I do like reading horror books. I hate horror films.
Ah,
Can't watch
interesting.
them, they freak me out.
Yes.
But horror books.
So, what horror books do you read?
So I like the classics like Shirley Jackson, and then my two kind of favorite. I've got sort of three horror authors I really like: Joe Hill, who's Stephen King's son, Paul Tremblay. It's really good. My favourites are Head Full of Ghosts that he did, and Grady Hendrix, also very good.
So let me ask you this: do you think? I mean, you've only read, one of the Ala Baker series, but do you think there are aspects of the Ala Baker series that might count in the horror genre?
I didn't think of that as I was reading it, but I could see how some people would when you were saying about it.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. I'll look up. Sorry, go on. What are you gonna say?
I think my question that I asked you was if you'd had any interest in adapting it.
Yes, yes. And that's where looking for an agent and a marketing manager comes from. Thank you, Aggie. Do I read in different genres? Kaz, I will answer your question in a minute. Yes, I read. I do like my spy thrillers because that's what I started off as writing. So I do, I do read the spy thriller genre a lot. I read obviously the police procedural genre a lot as well, and I do like some cozy mystery as well. I read Richard Osman's, who didn't, right? You know, you couldn't actually stay away from the book. But it was a very well written, very poignant, and very nice book, I thought. Richard Osman's The Thursday Club Murders. Um, Coming back to your question, Kaz, the Arla Baker series has been flagged as of interest to by some of my friends who are movie producers. Let's put it that way. Okay, I can't say any more than that. And there are some negotiations going on behind the scenes with a couple of movie producers who have worked with Netflix, and and they might be interested in the Arla Baker series. So watch this space. And that's why I need, basically an agent who is, well versed, because I don't know anything about, contracts with movie companies, etc. And contracts with the new streaming services like Netflix and Amazon Prime are very different to the traditional contracts, yes, so it might happen in the future.
That can be a good way of getting it in there. So there's a TV series I really like that is an Amazon Prime one, and it carried on Amazon Prime because Jeff Bezos liked the series of books. So it was getting cancelled, and then it actually had a full-ish run because Jeff Bezos liked it so much that he made them carry on making it.
I'll ask my old mate Jeff then.
Or send him a free book, see if he likes it, because evidently that's one of the ways that they do get made.
So what series was that? What series did you like?
The Expanse. It's a sci-fi series.
The Expanse.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I've never heard of The Expanse.
The sci-fi series, and it's really good. That they made one series of it on another show, or one or two series, and then cancelled it.
And it's on Amazon Prime, is it?
It's on Amazon Prime, and then Jeff Bezos made all the rest. He funded it, made all the rest because they like the series.
Oh, he's a huge sci-fi fan, isn't he? He's a huge sci-fi fan, and sci-fi is one of the big genres, in Amazon. And a couple of my friends who write, who write our kind of books, with mystery and thrillers, they also write sci-fi. Yeah. And I wouldn't mind, but I'd love to write, a comedy one like Red Dwarf. Comedy. I think Barry Hutchinson actually, J.D. Kirk, as he's better known, he wrote something like that to start with. I think he had
I think David Blake, who you mentioned earlier, has a kind of
David does, yes.
Kind of space series as well.
Yes, David has a comedy space series as well. Yes, yeah.
So some of our favourite book group questions now.
Go on then.
Have you ever acted out a scene as you've written it?
Well, given the fact that I write fairly dark crime thrillers, if I were to act them out, it might be quite dangerous. So no, I haven't. It's all been in the head.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm writing an action scene, like there's a few scenes where Arla is attacked and how she defends herself, then basically I imagine how if someone was coming to hit you from the right, how you would move to the left, etc. But apart from that, nothing else.
Fair enough. What's your most memorable moments as an author so far?
My most memorable, apart from meeting you guys and coming on the live interview, you mean?
You don't have to say that, but yeah, your most memorable.
Apart from that, I would say by far the nicest thing is getting feedback from my readers. And especially when, I want to end the Arla Baker series at book 11, but there's like howls, literally howls of protest. So I'm being emailed and told, please don't finish. They need to have another child, or you could do this. I'd love to see Ala solve a mystery abroad. You know, don't end it now. With so much. That's really nice to see, and you know. Because in book 11, the one that just came out on 16th of May, To Die For, uh, at this point, I wish I had one paperback with me. I don't. I'm really sorry. I've only got book 7 here. But To Die For, at the end of the book, there's, I've written a note to say that, that this is the end, and there's going to be a new series based in Oxford, which will be the Detective Inspector Nicky Roy series. And I've actually I think that even on Amazon, there's some of the reviews now state that we hope this won't be the last, and a lot of my readers have said that that you need to carry on with it. So Ala might come back.
I was just going to ask you if you were going to listen to your readers.
Yes, yeah. I think, you get to the stage where you want to keep your readers happy, and I think I'll find a way for Ala to come back. Yeah. We'll
Good
see.
to know. It's interesting to know whether authors would sort of take on reader feedback like that. So it's always interesting to hear. Have you included anything about the pandemic in any of your books?
No, but I wouldn't. I did think about it a lot. I wrote a scientific thriller when I first started out, and that dealt with a virus, and I really did think about it. It touches on the pandemic, but it doesn't really deal with it as such. I thought it was a bit overdone, and I didn't want to jump on the bandwagon and do what everyone else was doing. A lot of my American friends wrote, a thriller about a virus in the last couple of years, and yeah, so I kind of stayed away from it.
I think they're a good thing to write a thriller about because they're kind of scary.
What do you mean about like Contagion? Remember the movie called Contagion?
Yeah, I've seen Contagion.
Yeah, Contagion. Yeah. That's in the pipeline to write. I just need to figure out how that's going to be a series, or if that will be a series.
It could be a standalone, like Aggie said. Have you got any standalones planned?
It could be standalone. I've written 2 psychological thrillers as a standalone, and I'm going to just make some changes to them and then start them. Oh, Ellie Griffiths did it. Okay.
The Locked Room, the last book. It's not I think this is Leslie. It's not the plot of the Locked Room, but it happens during, because she writes them kind of chronologically.
Yeah.
So because the Locked Room happens while COVID was happening.
Yes.
It kind of happens in the book, and she's obviously kept a diary because it's got things like when Boris made the statement to tell people lockdown was happening and things, and it's very effective. It's done really well because it's like how the characters are reacting how you remember doing when they were saying about it, and things. We all have different responses and stuff, so it can be done well, I think.
Yeah, it's a very good idea, I think, and I'm definitely going to have a big think about it. So which are the psych thrillers? I'm putting new covers on the psych thrillers, but they were called Lie for Me and Don't Say It. So Lie for Me and Don't Say It were two standalone thrillers I wrote, and they were out for a while. I'm putting new covers on them, and I'm going to republish them in, say, the next few months.
If that was Leslie, you might like the Arla Baker series as well. Leslie's tastes run a little bit darker than mine.
Okay.
So, although she also very rarely gives 5-star reviews.
That's okay. That's okay. I can survive without. Yeah, for sure.
She's very honest. So if she reads it and tells you she likes it, like me, it'll be very truthful.
Good.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. And yeah, so the psych thrillers, basically will definitely be releasing again. And there's also, and you've given me an idea actually to, to try and write something about a virus or a pandemic. Well, if not in a pandemic, then, certainly, but a virus or biological, basically weapons and stuff. It's interesting that Wuhan, I'm not trying to feed any conspiracy theories here, but Wuhan does have the world's largest bat virus research laboratory.
I think the thing with anything like that, though, is that you've got to make sure your science is exactly right.
Yeah. And I'm a scientist, basically in real life. So, I'm a biological scientist. That's what, basically I do in my day job. So I could, give it up completely if I wanted to, but I want to sort of, keep it going as well because I enjoy my science. So I think one of the things that people will see if they read the Arla Baker series that there's a lot of forensic detail and a lot of post-mortem and autopsy detail as well. It's a bit like there's elements of CSI essentially, but that's because basically I'm interested in forensic science as well. Are you editing the psych thrillers too? Yes, I will be editing the psych thrillers. There was I don't think they were edited that well. One of the reasons why I took them off, I got some reviews to say that they weren't edited very well. Editing can be a bit hit and miss in self-publishing, and I have suffered with people who call themselves editors, but they're not really editors. So now I only go for basic editors which other authors absolutely vouch for.
Good. We have 3 minutes left. Do you want to just remind us about your series? Tell people how they can order a signed copy from you.
So all you need to do is just go onto my Facebook page, which is ML Rose Author, and just leave a request for me there. You can also ask to join my group, which is if you go to the Facebook page, you'll see the group that's attached to it. It's called the ML Rose Authors Readers Group. You can send me an email at mlroseauthor@gmail.com or also at mick@mickbose.com, and just get in touch with me that way.
Marvelous. And then all that's left to say is thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much, Kaz. It was lovely to meet you and lovely to meet and see everyone else as well.
Or just meet them online.